I'm sorry. We've let in 2 million people in the last 2 years. Where do you think we're going?
Yeah.
Like, welcome to progress. I'm sorry. Like, it's not about being a sleepy little town anymore. I don't know what you want. This is Australia. I'm an Australian citizen. I can move where I want.
Yeah, so I butted heads pretty hard with Stephen Shavura on this. Now, Stephen's a man I've got a lot of time and a lot of respect for. He's a theologian, university lecturer up in Sydney. Really great guy. He and his wife, wonderful, lovely people. But they've got this sort of idea that where they've moved to, they moved there because it had a certain quaint aesthetic. And now there are people that want to change that. And they're kind of, in my opinion, I'm editorialising what they've said, but essentially saying that they have some sort of a right for the area they moved to remain similar to what it was when they moved there. The thing is, the same thing was said by the person who grumbled about the house that they're living in right now being built over the top of the farmland. Like, well, I moved in here when it was all paddocks and blah, blah, and they've gone and changed it on me. Right, sorry, that doesn't hold any currency with me. If you want it to stay the way it is, you pay for it. You buy it all.
Yeah.
Because what you're actually saying is you don't want other people to be able to use their own property in the way that they believe best suits them and their goals and their life. Sorry, you don't get that right. If you don't own it, it's their right. It's their decision.
I'd say it's very short-term thinking, because with a lot of the influx of the Melburnians coming up to Queensland, for those of you who might be concerned about it, you're not getting the drabs. You're not getting the youth crime.
No, that's right.
You're getting, I know there's youth crime up there. What I'm saying is you're getting
but it was
people
already
who
there.
are
It's not
leaving,
imported
who are
from Melbourne.
entrepreneurs,
Yep.
who are bringing wealth, who are bringing skills. Like, you're getting a migration of good quality people coming up who probably don't want to do the same thing. Hey, you guys don't have very good coffee shops. Let's bring a coffee shop here.
They desperately need coffee culture up there.
Well, do you know what I mean? Like, you're getting good people. And if that's bringing wealth into your local area, it's not about pushing out the locals. Unfortunately, that's what happens.
Yeah.
When you start to gentrify the area, new houses getting built, new housing estates, yes, it would make sense that if you've lived in a little shack for the last 30 years, that's not going to be viable. I know
It's going to be a shock.
This same discussion has been had around Byron Bay, and people saying, oh, Byron's not Byron anymore. Well, yeah, the world's not 30 years, 40 years, 50 years ago.
Yeah.
How do you think people in Bali feel?
Let me read you an email that I got this week. So we've talked about the fact that I get hundreds of emails and messages and thousands of comments and so forth on my content. Actually, I get hundreds a day, not every week, but this was an interesting one. So this was sent to me by someone who later on admits that I'd only seen a few of my videos, so they made a few incorrect assumptions about where I'm coming from.
Yep.
And they wrote to me, and look, they put effort into their email. Credit to them, they've got a concern. They communicated it well. They put effort into their email, but their concern is that there is a housing development happening near them. Now, this is up in Queensland.
Yep.
In Bellbird Park in Queensland, there is a developer that is in the process of constructing 6 dual occupancy freestanding houses across just 2 suburban lots. So essentially 3 townhouses per lot, but done up as a little cluster of 6 with probably a common driveway in between would be how I would picture that in my head. They are exploiting a loophole in the NDIS-linked community residence exemption under the planning regulations of 2017. Now, wonderful email. He's actually done a really lovely job. Like, I kind of feel bad because he's put all the right effort in, and he goes through all the channels that he's gone to try and get some sort of a resolution with this. I don't see the problem. His view is that this is corruption. They're exploiting loopholes. They shouldn't be allowed to do this. My view is the corruption is the government presuming to tell people what they can and can't do with their land. And anyone that finds any kind of a loophole that allows them to increase housing supply, decrease housing costs, do any of those sorts of things is actually literally they are helping the world by maneuvering around the corruption that is the government and the planning process.
Yeah.
So I said that back to him. So my reply to him was, hi, Brad, I'm afraid my answer isn't going to be the one you're looking for. I'm very much pro-development, yes, including in my own neighbourhood and backyard, and anything that can be done to get around council restrictions and get on with building more houses and especially cheap houses is a great thing in my book. What you've raised is certainly noteworthy, but honestly, if I were to do a story about it, I'd be taking the approach of encouraging more people to do it because higher density affordable housing is in desperately short supply right now. I know that's not what you were hoping for, but that's my honest answer. Thanks for the email.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that. So I've talked about our little estate before. When this was built, it was meant to be just single homes, right?
Yeah.
And then over the years, now it's been here 20 years, they've started bringing in some townhouses and people are up in arms about it. And I'm like, what are you up in arms about?
Bad luck.
Most people can't afford, like most of the houses here are double story on big-ish blocks and they're worth around $2 million.
Yeah,
and
crazy.
guys, these aren't fancy houses. I'm not trying to say I live in Toorak. I'm just not saying where I live for a reason. They're average, they're McMansions. That's what I call them, McMansions. Most people can't afford that.
Yeah.
Where do you want people to live? This is this whole not in my backyard thing. Okay, where then?
Yeah.
So what you're saying is because the average people can no longer have been priced out of the housing market, they have to go live in slums?
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying? We all have to go live like an hour and a half away from the city because we can't afford your big land? No, what it means is, unfortunately, times have to change. If we're going to keep opening up our shores to have an immigration, which, by the way, is our next topic, then we need to make houses. Where do you want people to live? And so that I say to the people who are upset, a lot of Victorians are coming up to Queensland, what do you expect? Like, where do you want us to go?
And actually, specifically, we need to be making smaller and cheaper houses. That's actually specifically the type we need to make. Our houses have risen so quickly in dollar terms and as a proportion of income terms, so quickly that even entry-level housing is not entry-level anymore. The first few rungs of the housing ladder have been removed. And our planning laws either outright ban you from making small affordable housing because they create minimum sizes on all kinds of things, or they just make the economics unviable. Where, in theory, you could build a small house on that block, but because the block has to be a certain size and there's all these other costs, of course you're going to build the 4-bedroom home with the 3 bathrooms and the double garage. Of course you're going to do that. It makes no financial sense not to.
Yeah.
The problem is that means that the 2-bedroom bedsitter that isn't an apartment, and apartments generally, in my opinion, are a terrible financial investment. So that's a terrible way to start getting on the financial ladder, the property ladder, in my opinion. The idea of the unit that used to exist, the little humble brick, usually detached, but sometimes with a single common wall, brick home, 2 bedrooms, 1 common bathroom, and a little tiny backyard big enough for the clothesline. That entry level, no one's building that now.
Yeah.
It doesn't exist. So I'm actually I'm not just in favor of development, I'm explicitly in favor of non-high-rise, high-density development. That is, I think, the thing that is missing on the property landscape right now.
As a single renter, the last 10 years, about 3 houses I've lived in units.
Yep.
And they were all built in the 60s or 70s
Yep.
and they've been refurbed.
Yep.
And that's always what I opted for because I'm a single person. I don't want a 5-bedroom home. I just wanted, a spare room where I can have my home office,
Yeah.
bedroom for me,
Yep.
nice lounge room, and I wanted it to be relatively new. I didn't want a huge backyard because I didn't have the capacity to do the maintenance. I didn't want to have to do lawns. But yeah, they're becoming harder and harder to get. And now what I'm finding, I've always lived Bayside when I've been in Melbourne, and you do have a lot of those 60s, 70s style unit blocks.
Yeah.
But now what's happening is the big homes, particularly along the Nepean Highway, like Cheltenham, Moorabbin, where there were single-family homes with huge front yards, huge backyards, what developers are doing are buying 2 of those, knocking them down, and they're building I don't even know what you call it. It's like a condo apartment complex. So they're not high-rise.
Yep.
They're maybe 3 stories high, but somehow they've made 20 units and they have underground garage parking and you get this, if you're lucky, a little shred of a outdoor area.
Yeah.
But for the most part, you share a communal hallway and they're 2-bedroom, and they're like prison cells, in my opinion.
We should be actively encouraging the building of 2 and 3 and on the right size blocks, even 4 single-story brick units on a block in all these new subdivisions and all these new housing subdivisions. At the moment, they're all going in there and just building the same cookie cutter 4-bedroom, 3-bathroom or 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom.
Or they're building those super narrow townhouses that are just jam-packed next to each other.
Yes, they are doing
and
that
they're
too.
super narrow.
Yeah. Our planning laws at the moment mean that you cannot the bottom rungs of the ladder have been removed, and people like this gentleman here who messaged me in good faith. I'm not trying to cut this guy down, but his perspective is wrong. Anything that allows people to build in higher density in ways that are more affordable is a good thing right now. Well, here you are again. Thank you so much for watching the Oddcast. You've just seen a clip from the wonderful Carly and myself. Am I wonderful? No, but Carly is. And between us, we make a good team. So head on over to the Oddcast HQ on YouTube and watch our full episodes over there. See you there.